versus recursion summary. Well, about time we get a nice easy video here, really short. To summarize what we said so far, recursion tends to be more elegant than iteration, but recursion, at least for the languages that we mainly deal with, Python, Ruby, Java, C, C++, C#, in all those languages, recursion by and large is going to be less performant than iteration in many, many cases. Certainly if you can do something simple like factorial iteratively, you'll win in those languages. There are other languages that are built such that that's not true. It's just that these languages, it is true. And then debuggability, something we haven't talked about, and that is, for most people, it's significantly easier to debug iteration than recursion. And the reason is this. In recursion, a function calls itself, then there's a bug. And now when you're debugging, you're inside that function, but you have to know which version of that function, which call of that function you're inside. Because you're inside that function, inside that function, inside that function. And so it can become rather confusing keeping track of where you are. It's not enough to know what function you're in, but which call to that function, making debugging much harder. So again, these are general guidelines. It is certainly possible to be highly performant with recursion. Even in the languages I spoke of, there are ways to make them much more efficient and ways to be less efficient with recursion. And it's also very easily possible to create iterative solutions that are very low in performance. It's extremely possible to do that. In any case, at a 112 level, the conclusion is use iteration when you can, use recursion when you must. So we're going to see some problems. For instance, Hanoi. Hanoi is the first problem that we've seen so far where, practically speaking, the iterative solution is beyond most 112 programmers, but the recursive solution is pretty straightforward. When you're in that situation where the recursive solution is straightforward, use it. When an iterative solution is available, that trumps everything. Just go ahead and use that. That's the 112 level summary of iteration versus recursion.